Hey guys, it's Yellow J here, and welcome back to Mona, episode 3 in City Skylines. Now, if you're new to this series, you can check out the Mona playlist. There's a link in the description for that. But for those of you that are joining me back from episode 2, we're going to be continuing what we've been doing and working on a couple of different projects here today in our downtown core. So the first one that's what's on the screen right now. It's inspired by something that I've actually seen in real life, and that's this gas station in Hong Kong that takes up the ground floor of this high-rise building. And when I started Mona and I knew I was going to be building this ultra high-rise, high-density city, I instantly thought of this gas station because I knew it's something that definitely would make sense in Mona. And it would be very fun to do in City Skylines, so here we are. It's nothing too complex. Basically what you have to do for a build like this is just convert some buildings into procedural objects so you can raise them up without leaving that vanilla base of the building that you'll see if you try raising them up with Move It. And that's just what I'm doing here on screen. As I've mentioned, I'm not imagining a whole bunch of gas-powered cars in Mona, although I'm sure the elites who still want to drive one as a hobby definitely will have nothing stopping them, but I'm pretty sure it's realistic just to imagine the oil and gas players moving into renewables as long as it's profitable. So, I don't think there's actually, gas here. It's probably renewables, but, the gas station still takes the same form, I guess. And something I wanted to talk about in this episode is how exactly we're going to incorporate the issue of climate into the city of Mona itself. Now, I received a great comment on the previous episode, specifically about sea level rise and how we could portray that in Mona. And, I'm definitely planning on building some sort of comprehensive flood protection system for Mona at some point. It's just that at the moment I'm pretty undecided on how futuristic it's going to look and what form it's going to take. Specifically, I don't know if it would make more sense to sort of directly protect the waterfront with very high seawalls and things like that so that Mona would not be flooded even if it ends up below sea level. Or maybe we could build some sort of giant breakwater barrier thing further out in the ocean. I've seen some assets on the workshop by Quad Rioters that we might be able to use if we end up building something like that. But like I said, I'm not sure what would make more sense. So if you have any ideas about that, I do invite you to leave a comment below. There's definitely, whole bunch of different options to incorporate flood protection into Mona, and it's definitely something I want to put a little bit more thought into. But getting back to what's happening on screen, this first portion of the episode, we're going to be continuing our detail work for the downtown core. Now, of course, the title of this video is the fully custom train station, so if you want to skip ahead to that, you can just check out the chapters below if you're viewing this on web, or if you're not, then you can just skip ahead to the 10-minute mark of this video. Otherwise, we're continuing with the advertising and the billboards and those small commercial buildings at the base of all our corporate skyscrapers. And most of them are from the Modern City Center Creator Pack that Ami Polizei Funk made, and I cannot recommend that DLC enough. The buildings in it are just so useful in almost any kind of city that you might want to build. They're all wall to wall, and there's corner buildings, and it works. All of the buildings work very well with procedural objects, which is a huge bonus because basically means that you have endless possibilities of what you can create with them. And another sort of new thing, I guess, that we're doing for the first time in this episode is using some billboards by Colin Mochrie, the comedian, of course. Well, presumably not, but that's what this individual has decided to call themselves on Steam, so there's that. But yeah, they are, these kind of US style billboards. I think they're meant to go on the side of highways, and they're really big so that driving past them you can see those billboards. And yeah, I've just found lots of uses for them here in Mona. One thing I'm doing is stacking a whole bunch of them, one on top of the other, and then just raising them up, trying to fit them into any building setbacks that we can find here in our downtown core. And basically these billboards just overhang the streets below, and yeah, they just absolutely pollute what little airspace we have in this part of the city, with even more advertising. So I think that's a fantastic look for the city. But yeah, really there's just a lot of billboard placing from here until the station builds, so I'm gonna leave you all for a moment. I don't know if I should cut out more of this footage in the future, because I'm not sure if it would be a bit disorienting. Just sort of magically seeing large chunks of the city appear finished, because I'm cutting out that footage. So yeah, do let me know if you have any suggestions on that. Alright, so now we're moving on to the custom elevated station build. Basically there's a segment of station track here from the Railway Replacer mod. That's where these trains are stopping when I pause the game to see where they stop. And I found some of these network platforms, which I thought were a little bit narrow, but then it hit me, node controller, we can handle that. So that's what you see me using here. Just playing around with the node controller to make the platforms wider and a bit more realistic. Definitely takes some getting used to, and for some reason when you move the nodes with Move It, they seem to be reverting back to the default state, but I'm getting used to it. It's not too much of an issue. And then I'm using the Kaminogi pedestrian deck prop pack for the stairs leading up to the platform. Would be lovely to have some escalators, but and I mean there's some fantastic animated escalator assets out there. I'm well aware of that, but I'm just not sure if I can make it look realistic with the invisible paths, since I don't believe at least there's any one-way invisible pedestrian paths, so it would be very difficult to get escalators to look right anyway. And I'm also placing down this concrete block asset as a procedural object and just copying that over and over to make the concourse level of the station. And I have to do that because the ploppable surfaces or the surface networks, they don't actually have anything like underneath them. So if you're pointing the camera up from below, they are just going to appear invisible. So yeah, placing this kind of concrete is just an extra step in these sort of multi-level builds. As long as there's stuff below, you can't really get around it. But overall, just trying to keep the station looking as symmetrical as possible. Of course, there's workflow reasons for that. Everything you rotate, it snaps in 45-degree increments. And so yeah, basically the concourse level where I've placed those concrete surfaces is going to connect straight out to this big public space that's kind of inspired by Corpo Plaza in Cyberpunk 2077. And yeah, that's the reason why I have this entire city block adjacent to the station that's at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, it's just completely empty because that's what I'm going to be working on in the next episode. And in my imagination, this station and this whole commuter rail loop in the downtown should have been privately funded. Not that it makes a whole lot of difference because Mona's government is most definitely run like a business as well, but as this commuter rail is definitely how all the working classes are going to get to their workplace, the corporations would be willing to pay for this infrastructure. And yeah, there's going to be more stations in this downtown area. Some of them just ridiculously close to each other because, I don't know, in my imagination you can think that the corporations with the money to do so will just fund their own station and have it connect straight to their headquarters, their skyscrapers. So yeah, in fact, before the end of this episode, I'm going to be placing one of Nardo's holograms, the Kiroshi Cybernetics one, just like in front of the station, so it looks like they've funded the station, and obviously they got naming rights and things like that, and they can use the public infrastructure. Well, it's not public, but it's just a piece of infrastructure, but they can just use the whole thing as advertising space. But overall, I'm going for some sort of sleek but utilitarian look for the station, using various networks here for the barriers at the edge of the platforms and the concourse, so obviously people don't just walk over the edge, right? We're using the railway decorative networks up above, and then some of Citywalk Seawall's networks below on the concourse level. And then later on you just see me copy a few of those and upgrade them to sound barriers, and then move them back into position to complete the whole look. And then you also saw me use some assets by Coma that are specifically designed to go underneath elevated train tracks. There's some Japanese style assets, and converting them into POs and raising them up, I'm able to have them look like little shops and utility rooms for this station. And then we covered some of those bare faces with graffiti props and things like that to sell that this place is definitely for the working classes. It's also very much privately run, and it's neglected because whether it looks nice or not, that doesn't affect anyone's profit margin. So we're also placing more decals down to rough out the concrete texture and make it look not maintained. And another aspect important to Mona is total surveillance of our population, well, at least apart from the ruling elites, and a lot of oppressive measures in the name of security, because of course that's the guarantor of the stability that we need to keep cash flowing into the city. So I'm placing down all these cute little sim props and making a big long line to get into the train station, because everyone has to line up for a security check. Some little military men props, and just hammer home this whole security theater kind of look. I just placed them at terrain level, then snapped them all to the same height, and raced them with Move It, and that's pretty much it for that. Some benches and lights by Cityscapes as necessary to complete the whole look of this station. And then for the roof structure, I'm using this wonderful prop from the Dubai Metro entrance asset pack. It's meant to be like an enclosed pedestrian bridge of some sort, but the asset just has such a fantastic sort of modern, sleek, metallic kind of appearance, and it also plays very well with procedural objects. You saw me just place it down there. So I just kind of manipulated and squashed the whole thing down a little bit, and use it as the roof structure for this whole train station. And then just placing down some of these Ronix expressway pillars to hold up this structure. And then the last thing I do is place down some animated signs with some text at the station entrances, just to add that little bit more detail. And one of them is going to display this message that says contact tracing is mandatory before entering the station. And I don't know what form exactly that would take in the 2050s here in Mona. Maybe it's some sort of implant that you have to get at this point, but that's not really important. The point that I'm trying to incorporate here is that looking at a future with even more infectious diseases spreading, whether it's due to antibiotic resistance or other drug resistance, or the melting permafrost, or even just from the accelerating urbanization and people living closer to each other, more and more people doing so. Whatever it is, infectious disease is pretty common in the world and in Mona at this time. And so, without question, the ruling elite is definitely going to use that as an excuse to implement more surveillance and data collection, regardless of how severe any public health threat is here. But so long as it improves bottom lines. And no doubt more data collection is definitely going to do that. Alright, so we're finishing off the episode with just some more commercial buildings and some more billboards, just trying to complete another few more city blocks for our downtown core. and then you're gonna see me placing down some of these small little kiosks, which are actually growable commercial assets from the Modern City Center DLC. I've used the tag tool in the Find It mod to just tag them with the keyword food. And then there's some other props which are actually food carts as well. And then we're just gonna create a little eating area in this residual space underneath one of our station entrances. And yeah, that's something that I want to be doing a good amount of throughout the city. Because our citizens in Mona here, they definitely do not have the time to cook. They should be spending every minute possible at work, so we are just providing for their basic needs with street food places like this. But as I've said, we are reaching the end of the episode. I've already hinted at what we're going to be doing next time. Basically, we're doing this so-called public space that's going to be the centerpiece of this whole downtown core, and just what we can show off to the rest of the world to get people and businesses moving in. But that's about it for this episode. So if you enjoyed this video, you know how you can help me out by leaving a like or a comment or subscribing to the channel for those of you who haven't. As you know, it's all very much appreciated on my side. But yeah, that's about it for episode 3 of Mona. Hopefully I'll be seeing you all here soon for the next one. But until then, please take care of yourselves, and goodbye.